Welcome to Beyond the Den, everyone. Today, we're diving deep with a special guest who's mastered the art of playing the long game in the tumultuous world of Web3. With a strategic mindset and a knack for spotting growth potential, he's carved out a successful path in the realm of NFTs. Particularly within Wolf Game, he's discovered a unique strategy and thrived on the sheep side of things. Please welcome the savvy investor and insightful community member, Crypdegen. Woo! Now, do you go by Crypdegen or Crypdegen?
Crypdegen.
Crypdegen.
It is confusing.
Yeah, well, that's what I pretty much figured. It was Crypdegen. So how did the name come about?
I'll be honest, man. My life was like kind of up in the air, and I just really went for like a Hail Mary pass. I just like decided I needed to dump every single dollar I had into crypto. It was just at such perfect timing, to be honest.
Yeah,
crazy.
That's great. That's great. And where was your conviction? Like, how did that start to say, all right, I only have a certain amount of money and I'm just going to start throwing it into crypto?
You know, it definitely wasn't like very smart strategy on my half. It was really just kind of FOMO. My brother made a ton of money in crypto. He just buying Ethereum, and he was like staking and doing all that stuff. I don't know, that's like a whole nother world to me. He had like $1 million. Like, it was the craziest thing I've ever heard. And I was talking to him the year before, he had like 40 grand. So I'm like, oh my God. And at that point, like, obviously I'm jumping in at the top, right? I'm like, okay, my brother has $1 million. I need to get in this now. So I start dumping all my money into it. And the one great thing was that my brother was telling me, you know, that he talks on Twitter with everyone. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's where I get the information. So I go on Twitter. And the only thing that saved me really was I started following all the smart guys. It was actually a Beanie tweet. I know this community loves Beanie. Beanie is the reason I bought a Bored Ape. Because he was, even before the Bored Ape, just a quick story, how my like first investment went. I don't know if anyone's heard of Euler Beats, but it was like this, it was supposed to be like a breakthrough in technology. That's what my brother was saying. And he made like money on Unisocks or something like that. So I was like, you know what, these things are so weird, and I kind of like weird things. I feel like weird things have interesting opportunities. So I buy 3 of these things. They were like a 1 ETH each. It was all my money at the time, but I saw how fast they were selling. I was like, what the fuck? So I buy 3 of them at 3 ETH, and within like, not even kidding, 48 hours, it was like a 25 ETH floor. I had 3 of them, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm rich. I'm the smartest man alive. And I shit you not, I didn't sell any of them, and they're all worthless now. I did sell one of them for 10 ETH, but after that, I was like so into NFTs that I ended up wasting it on some like stupid shit. It was, like,
We've all bought some. We've all bought some ridiculous things that are, you know, deep inside of our NFT wallets. I mean, it's insane. Folder. Yeah, the folder. Yeah, that OpenSea folder. Oof. I look at it. I used to look at it, you know, a couple times a day and be like, okay, I can move these things and kind of hustle.
Now
but
they're
now
all worthless.
I was just like, oh God, it makes me cringe about, you know, it actually puts me in like a bad state, just an energy where I'm like, I don't even want to look at them right now. It's just crazy. But that is the general markets overall. Like, that's investing.
Yeah.
If you stare at your investments every day, you're going to drive yourself insane no matter what you're in, right? Whether it be real estate, the stock market. I mean, it's just in NFTs, it's such an emotional game, which is crazy, dude.
Yeah, it really is. And like, that's like the one biggest thing I wish I was doing, is just taking profits all the way up.
Yeah.
You gotta just do that.
So would you say that that's like your number one advice for people that are looking to get in the space?
Yes, like even if you think it's going to go higher, even if you think it's going to go 100 times higher, you sell the pump a little bit. Sell, you know, take a little bit of profit at the pump. Any pump, you got to take a little bit of profit. And then you could reinvest if it dips, rather than like it all crash and you have nothing. At least like if it doesn't dip, okay, you sold a little bit that you missed out on.
Yeah.
and then
And you
don't
learned,
FOMO back in.
yeah, and you learned a lot of that with the story behind your Bored Ape, right?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, that was actually my most successful investment. Basically, after the Euler beats and I basically lost everything, I was still fascinated by the idea of NFTs. And this is where I got Beanie got me onto it, where basically he was talking about because Beanie actually owned one of the masters to Euler beats. It was you have to look that up on your own time, but because it's a complicated thing. But he owned one of the masters, so that's why I knew him and was following him. And I followed a lot of the people Beanie was talking about. And he used to say a lot of really great alpha, but he was one of the first people, no joke, on Twitter to start talking about how much his engagement went up once he changed his picture to a punk. And that's literally like, in my eyes at least, that's like the start of the bull run. So I couldn't afford a punk, so I was looking at like what do all the smartest guys have. I'm looking them up, all the punk guys, and they're following people. What do they have as their profile picture? And it was all like me bits, and then it was like these like monkeys, the Bored Apes. And I remember thinking like the me bits were a lot more expensive, and I didn't want to get like a normal one. I wanted to get because I really just wanted to do that to get one because I had like 5 followers. No one was like answering me on Twitter. I could no one would reply to my comments. So I'm like, I need to get some respect around here. So I buy this Bored Ape because it was cheaper than the me bits, and I could get like a rare one. So I got like the rainbow grill, and I swear to God, I don't know what happened, but they just started taking off like right away. It was the
Yeah.
craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
And it went
Yeah,
all the way to 45 ETH before I sold it.
okay. So you did sell it at 40. When did you sell it at?
So ETH was $4,000, and I sold it at 45. And I'll be honest, like I really didn't want to sell it. I kind of kicked myself. It was bad timing, but it's worth more than it is now. But my whole family was like chasing me around the house on the holiday, like you better sell that fucking thing. So I sell it, and I swear to God, like because it was like a very weird time. Like we didn't know what was gonna happen with it, and it just shoots to 150.
Oof.
Like
Yeah.
shoots to 150.
Yeah.
And I was just playing catch up and trying to chase things around, and everything was going up at the time. So I should have probably held it though. But
yeah, I mean, hindsight though, looking back, you can't time it, right? And 45 ETH at close to 4K is pretty awesome. So
100%.
Yeah, for sure. So what happens, from there? Did you jump right into the gaming arena? Was Wolf Game your first gaming NFT that you purchased? Like, where did your conviction start there?
Yeah, that's really a great question because it was a very interesting time. Everything was going crazy. I mean, you really had to be there. Like, you were probably there, but like, it was like, what I'm talking about. Like, you had to be there. It was insane. Everything was going like 10x here, 10x there. And it was like all about the profile pictures. But I realized automatically, like, because I'm thinking about it, I'm like, none of this makes sense. Like, there's no end game here. Like, it really has to be like rich people just buying my things. The only thing I saw it as was like a social club, and the real value was like networking and growing your Twitter pages. That was like the real value of the Bored Ape, growing a big following on Twitter. And it was really valuable, because people were making bank growing their followings like that. So I'm like, okay, literally, this is the hardest thing that anyone could ever tackle is you have to make your brand become super significant. You're not Disney World. You know what I mean? You don't have a TV show that all the kids love already. You don't have an amusement park. You're literally just a group with like 1,000 people, and you need to make this into a global brand for you to keep up with $100,000, $200,000 sales. And I'm like, that's such a difficult gap. And I tried to do, make money in the gaming arena because I thought the concept of play to earn was good. But I understood that it was like kind of like Ponzi-ish. Like I bought into a project and I was so hyped about it. I minted like 30 of them. They all went to an ETH. I didn't sell them and they all went down. But I realized like, okay, my brother was right because he was telling me to sell all my NFTs the whole time. But there needs to be some sort of economy in order for it to have value. And Wolf Game was the only thing I saw doing that. And obviously, I saw that extremely early. But I always like to think I'm always extremely early. So I was extremely early at Wolf Game. Obviously, I was way too early because it's going to take the world years to catch up before they realize all of these other NFTs were going to tank, and then it's
Yeah.
going to take them years to realize, okay, this one works. This one makes sense. This one's fun. I really don't get why everyone in the space is not about Wolf Game.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that too. I just think everybody's been beaten up so badly. And I do believe early on, you had some big, heavy names in there. You had FaZe Banks, you had Post Malone was in there. I think Post Malone is still in the Wolf Game community. When that bug happened early on in the contract, when you were shearing the sheep, and at that moment, I was like, we're screwed. This is, another freaking rug. This is ridiculous. Then Shep came out with the pouches, which was like crazy. The conviction began to strengthen once that innovation came out, which was huge. I don't know. I feel like there's so many people in the space that still think it's a rug.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating.
They do.
And, even like looking at Wool, and I've been pretty heavily investing a lot of time into the Web3 gaming space, just education wise, and watching a lot of YouTube videos on Twitter, kind of building my online persona behind the whole crypto NFT gaming arena. And nobody ever mentions Wool. Nobody ever mentions Wolf Game. And when you do mention it to these so-called influencers,
yes,
they just kind of they ignore it. So
there's
I don't know.
A weird thing. You almost feel it. It's like they don't want to talk about it. Like it's like weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And I just really want one of these big time gamers or so-called gamers to really look into it with no preconceived notions, to just go in open-minded and really study it. And that's why I think that we're kind of taking, a little bit of not a U-turn, but we're kind of gearing towards the whole board game arena, which is super interesting. I don't know if the traditional gamers are our crowd. I don't know.
Well, 100%, and I don't think they are, and I honestly don't care because I'm not a traditional gamer. In fact, I really pretty much hate most games. I like Nintendo 64 playing Super Smash, but once you got like the fifth and sixth and seventh button, I'm like, okay, I like A and B, a couple joystick moves. It's for people who don't like games, but they still like the fun aspect. They don't want to have to learn. They don't want the learning curve. They just want their intelligence to be the advantage. And that's really like what I like about Wolf Game. It's like perfect, really. And I know if I like it, I know there's got to be thousands of other people who are just like me. They don't want to play these games. They don't want to have a learning curve. They just want to get in and be able to take the best guy out the first time playing just because they had a good strategy and, they outwitted the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many gamers out there or people who are looking at the project and they just think it's too late. And what they don't realize is that we're still in a pretty large bear market and wool is the lowest it's been in how long, right? And a lot of the NFTs, wolves, I mean, my favorite wolves are literally just crushed. This is a huge opportunity to jump in and sink your teeth in. And if you're if you're a financial guy or if you're an analyst or if you're a macro, I believe that is what really is we're gonna start attracting. And I think that's where we should really start tackling our branding and marketing towards that arena rather than going after, like the Bored Apes thing. I mean, that Dookie Dash, I mean, what was that? You're just literally flying around and joysticking things. It's
It's stupidity because it's okay, who can get the best player to play the game for you? That's really all it is. Who can hire the best guy? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you almost take pride in playing wolf game, right? Because it challenges your intelligence.
100%.
Yeah. Now you're a big sheep guy,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
so you kind of go against the grain. I know sheep freaking they've been bashed. Gen Zeros, Gen Ones. Most people still don't even know what the difference is. So if you if you really digest that wallpaper, there's so much opportunity.
100%. I mean, the main reason I went to the sheep side was just because it was cheaper, but you can get so much stuff on the sheep side. Like, you could really like jump in right now for like 5 ETH and you could have like a business going.
You can have an army.
Yeah, like tons of sheep. I mean, the best thing for me right now is that all of my structures are in the same areas. So I've tried, that was like my idea. I mean, obviously I was buying things a lot more expensive than they are now, but my idea was to minimize all my costs. So no in between travel, in between community costs. I try to get all Gen Zero sheep so I could just charge them up to the max. But Jugs kind of had us take a hit on that. But I don't know, I just like it. I think it's fun. You always have something to do. You're always plotting something. You're planning, okay, I got to move this sheep and you got to time things right, make sure the sheep has enough energy. And if you have like 4 barns, there's a lot going on. You know, you're doing something every couple of days and it just like keeps you like on top of things. It's like you're not necessarily, you know, moving the boxes around, but you're showing up at the warehouse every day, making sure everything is running smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, most people will look at that and be like, "Well, I don't want to do that. That just seems like a burden." It's not a burden, it's fun.
It's fun.
And when you're not physically moving these characters around, you're thinking about it. And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh my God." And when you have these epiphanies, and it's just a lot of times my wife will look at me and be like, "Hey, are you there?" You know, and I'll literally be just thinking about Wolf Game, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, sorry, I was visualizing her as a voluptuous sheep." So
It's true.
yeah, dude, it really is. How many sheep do you have right now? Do you have like a bunch of G2s? Like you talked a little bit about your structures and breeding. Like where are you in that right now?
So I have 3 sheep per barn. That's like my thing that I do now because I just learned this the other day, but apparently when you have jugs, it does you could really like breed with Gen 2 sheep like if they were allowed to breed because it doesn't matter about the energy because you're using the minimum. Like you're never reaching the max energy. So I have three sheep per barns and I kind of rotate them like a triangle around each barn, and that's the most efficient way to do it. But
So what do you mean by that? Like what and why three?
well, I was doing 4, and then I realized I could pull it off with 3 just as easy, you know, because I was doing 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off, and then I realized if I have like, you know, one sheep at like 750, one at 550, and then one at 0, I could charge this, get it to 550, and then kind of rotate them around. Now the 551's at 250, 275 or whatever. This one's at 0. Charge this one up back to, and I kind of just rotate around. So you only need
Mm,
3.
that's a great point. Yeah, and so that you're saying the goal would be to have three and then get them to 550.
Yeah, like if Gen 2 sheep eventually can breed, which I don't know if they ever will, but all you really need is 550 energy.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay, so you're taking the Gen Zeros or Gen Ones, you're bringing them to 550, then you're breeding them, and then you're always going to have one in rotation, right? That's
And you
kind
can
of
never have 2 that are the same energy. They
yeah.
always have to be one off,
Okay,
275 off.
yeah, that's cool. I think that's a really cool strategy. I haven't heard of that one. You would definitely enjoy talking to Farmer Pity. He's
He's
a,
yeah,
he's a breeding maxi dude, and he's all about the sheep.
yeah.
And he's got like a bunch of G2s and that's what he loves. And he has this, he has spreadsheets, he has So he's actually creating a website right now, which is going to be really cool. That I'm excited about. So there's a lot of like really smart dudes in this game, and women too that are in this game that are just, really, exciting and fun to talk to. And they're kind of looking at the opposite of where everybody else is, right?
Right.
That's
Wait, what do
really
you mean by that?
well, just like if it depends on where the alpha is. So if there's, if it's like the shiny thing, people are running towards that and be like, oh, I got to get this. And, we gotta play peak game. We got to get to the summit or the slope, and we got to, keep investing in that. And they're not looking outside where, you're having sheep that are collecting a crazy amount of resources right now. So, right. So
Yeah.
they're just kind of doing the opposite of what the masses are doing. You're kind of doing too with sheep. I mean, most people are looking at wolves and they're like, oh, well, it's wolf game and you got to keep getting wolves. But then you're like, okay, well, I mean, but sheep are very valuable right now, especially G0s with the 1,000 energy, right?
And everything has a direct correlation. So if wolves become popular, the only way they can become popular is if they need sheep. They need the chops. So chops have to become popular. They have to become valuable. And I see Gen 0, Gen 1 sheep, anything breeding going up to like, back to like 5 ETH eventually when things start picking up a little bit.
Yeah. If you can zoom out too and think about the deflationary aspect of sheep too, when you're burning sheep.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're losing sheep. We lost a lot of sheep early on. I think
Are we?
people got a little tired. Well,
Wow.
I mean, have you looked at the burn count on the sheep?
No, I don't
No,
even
I
know how
mean,
to.
it's on is it on Guru? I believe it is. But early on it was insane. People were burning sheep like nuts.
Yeah.
In order to obviously upgrade their structures, their dens, and build their structures quick, which was, I think, a very good move. Especially if you want to breed. And then there was the talk about the energy crisis. And so everyone's like, all right, no, now we got to go. I remember Jay Steezy, he was like, oh, he had his den. And then he's like, all right, I got to knock down this den now and build a bathhouse. And then after he did it, he's like, oh my God, now he starts.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's one of those things where Shep has the ability to make you really double think what you're doing.
Yeah.
And just when you think you're like, okay, this is it, this is what I got to do, it's typically not the right decision. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're long decisions. They affect a lot.
Yeah. It is. It's a domino effect and everything comes full circle. And that's what an economy really is. It's slow and steady, right? And so when we're building an economy, it's going to take time for things to come to fruition. There needs to be a certain amount of structures being built. There needs to be a certain amount of resources farmed. The data that Shep and team have, I'd imagine to be pretty amazing. So there's so many people that want things now, but it's like, slow down, right?
100%.
So can you talk a little bit about how you view that and like why that could be good for the game?
So that's I'm glad you brought that up. Because I was thinking about that question today, actually. And what I would say is this. If someone were to ask me, are we heading in the right direction? Is everything on track? All I can tell you is I have no fucking idea. And the reason why I have no fucking idea is it's way too complicated for me. I don't understand the math, all this shit that goes into it, all this, all that. But what I will say is this. My intuition, my fucking intuition, I think I have strong intuition, but my intuition is speaking to me. And it's telling me that this is not only on track, but it's perfectly on track. Not just close, but like perfectly to a T, like 100% exactly on the track that we should be. That's what it feels. If I take my ego out of it, I forget the price, forget about making money. I just go, this is a game. If I didn't even invest in this game and I saw this game and I saw it building up, this is exactly what it would look like, I think.
Yeah, dude, that's a great answer. So many people are concerned about the price. It just blindsides them. There's so
I
many
mean, me
that are,
too. But
they're just, yeah, we all do. I mean, but what are you going to do? Sell? I don't know. I mean, what am I going to do? Sell my wolf? I've kind of like really just laid my flag down and saying like, this is going to be my digital identity. So if this thing pumps to 100 ETH, I mean, I don't know. This is where you go, oh my God, you're pacing back and forth and your family's yelling at you. Your kids are being like, feed me, you know, sell this damn thing so I can eat. But, you know,
it's not fucking easy. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah. A lot of times it's harder, right? It's harder than just like if something is brutalized, you're like, all right, this is fucking an easy decision. I'm done with this. It's out.
Exactly. I've sold so much shit, at the when it like after it dumps where I'm like, all right, bro, this shit's I don't see this one surviving. But this one's different. This one's like it makes so much sense. This is
Yeah.
exactly what you would want for an NFT project. It's the only thing that really makes sense if you think of the technology and how we could actually use it.
Yep. The
It's the only
blockchain,
thing.
right? And you can't have everything on the blockchain, especially during this time, right? With the innovations that are out now. It's too slow. It's too clunky. It's too expensive. You just can't do it. So there's people like, oh, no, it's not 100% on chain. Doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It really is. What kind of possibilities are you excited about for the future of Wolf Game?
I'm really excited for more people to join. Once my sheep, I could sell them for like a little bit of profit. That's when I'm gonna know things are on. Like once you see Wolf Game on Instagram, that's when you know like we fucking made it. And things are gonna get so interesting. They're gonna be so much fun. And I'm excited to see just like a plethora of games. And I don't know, like there really is no limits. I don't even want to see what I'm excited for because I know it could go beyond that. With the brightest heads on board, all we really need is like to catch the people's attentions. And with this platform, I mean, we're the first product really, as far as I'm concerned, to get around the SEC and to be able to pay out in-game rewards that you could actually cash out for real money. And this is like as you build up the platform, I mean there's just it's built to have no ceilings. So that's the most exciting thing for me is just seeing like what can the Shep cook up? What could all these people in this innovative community cook up? I don't know, I'm just hyped for it. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, dude. That's an awesome answer. And thinking about all the entrepreneurs that are in this space and in the community, there's a lot of big wigs, big brain individuals that are creating these awesome side projects off of this, and just the amazing opportunities that are presenting themselves. And I love how Shep can steer us in a direction at the drop of a hat, right? If something's
Yeah.
not working, he could change it. And that's what I love about the wool governance too, is if things are getting out of control, like he kind of gave us, the wheel slightly, but said, all right, well, if this is getting out of control, because he has the ability to see a lot more data than most everybody does. So if he sees something or a direction that we're going, I trust in his intuition, his brains, and the team, and the, like Beanie and these other, say what you will, I know Beanie, he's got to be involved with the team somehow. I mean, and he's a smart dude. So I could see him kind of laying his 2 cents into a lot of this, especially from like a marketing standpoint, because that seems to be our biggest downfall right now. But I do believe that's going to come. And with the marketing budget, I believe if this Pixel Vault deal goes down, right, they have a war chest of money, which is crazy. And like, think about it. How is 95% of the space making money right now? They're not going to be around. They made their money
Yeah.
at Mint. They made it on royalties. Or kind of disrupted the space big time. It's either good or bad, but it really crushed founders' profits and their ability to have recurring revenue in the door. And right now I mean, especially too, which in Wolf Game, there's a lot of trending projects in OpenSea or Blur, and you see these sales go in and they'll come up on the trending page for OpenSea, but most people aren't seeing the trades that are going on behind the scenes in Wolf Game. We're not necessarily putting that on the market because we're doing it in the community, which it kind of hurts Shep and team because they're not necessarily making the secondary profits on a lot of that, depending on how the deal goes down. If it's like hey, I'm going to trade you wallet per wallet. But it's, I don't know. I just feel like I'm just super excited about the future. And like you said, I loved your idea and thought on intuition. I don't claim to be the smartest individual, and I'm not going to sit there and crunch numbers. That's not something that I'm going to do. I'd rather hire those people that are smarter than me and surround myself around them. But I do believe my intuition and my street smarts and the ability to see trends before they happen is something that I've made myself successful throughout my 40 years on this planet.
That's why I love this community, because kind of like all of us are we're like those guys that kind of can identify opportunities. Like everyone, we're just jam packed with those kind of people. To me, that's like a good sign.
Yeah. I think it's all energy at the end of the day. I think we were all kind of craving Wolf Game in particular, something to come around, and I think we've kind of united us together. And it's really cool to have the different personality traits of everybody too. So I think the best thing we could do is band together as a community and really trust the Shepherd and team and think about how we can make this work rather than, oh my God, I need these prices to go up. I need, this isn't going to work. Why is wool important? Like, they're just listening to the space. They're listening to these so-called gamers that are like, oh, NFT games are stupid. They need to be fun. But they are fun. This game is fun. There's not many that are fun. Right.
I mean, I have a blast playing this game. If we have 100,000 players, like right now we have 500 players. If we had 100,000 players, we would be raising sheep full time.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's in the peak favor.
Yeah. So. How many players are in Axie? Do you know? Axie Infinity?
No idea.
Yeah. I don't know how much you've kind of looked into Axie, but there's some whales in the community like that Cuppy guy. Have you seen Cuppy?
Oh yeah.
So
and Seaphrase too.
Yeah, I think, were they in Axie?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I reached out to Cuppy and I was like, hey, it was right when he was buying all that stuff, and I was like, I hear you were in Axie. What do you see in Wolf Game that you saw in Axie? So apparently his story with Axie is he rode it way high and then sold at the top, which is crazy. So he did really well, and he was like, dude, Wolf Game just reminds me of it. And he's like, and he was a big breeder. So he would breed a bunch of Axies like nuts. So how many structures do you have?
So I have 9.
Nice.
I have 5. Well, I have 5 baths. Well, 6 baths, 3 barns, but I'm going to make 4 barns. But the problem is I don't know what I want to do with that extra bath. So I'm thinking about getting another structure, but at the same time, wool's just looking like the best buy right now.
Yeah. I feel like we've been saying that for so damn long, though.
I know. But it's just I'm in my head, I can't see me making so much money on a structure that it could beat wool going to $1. And that's I don't know.
Yeah.
That was what was said. That's what I believe.
Yeah, if you can zoom out on that, I think that's a good way to put it. Yeah, and I know Farmer Pity, that's what he said. Because he's a big breeder. Dude, he doesn't even own a structure.
Oh, no?
No, and he's a breeder.
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
dude, I don't understand it. And he's, like I said, a breeding maxi. So you got to think that
He's calculating the numbers right.
he is. I mean, he's been hustling a lot and wheeling and dealing with trying to get really cheap barn visits and then also baths afterwards. He's all about timing. He's looking at like when wolves are entering the communities. He's really kind of researching that end, which I'm breeding for the first time. My sheep, I just put them in like, I think it was Sunday. So this is the first time I'm breeding because I've just been looting a lot with like my wolf and then collecting with my G2s. And I sold a bunch of my sheep pretty early on in order when they were at like 1 ETH when I wanted to kind of work my way up to the A7. So I don't know. But now A7s are down to like 5 ETH, which is crazy, dude.
Yeah.
You have a pretty sick A7, don't you?
I do. I'm looking to get rid of it, honestly. I want more structures. I want more farmers. But I will say,
I think we talked in the Discord real briefly because I was like, do I just get another A5 and then start breeding the A5 with the A7 and go that route?
well, this is actually a good thing to bring up. We're talking about this before it ends because the main reason I don't want the wolf and I like the sheep and I like the sheep structures and the breed and the things that I'm doing, it just seems too expensive. I gotta get a wolf. I gotta 20K. That sounds like so much money to me. 20,000 wool. I'm not charging my wolves. No, I'll just leave them protecting my barn.
Dude, you would vomit the amount of wool that I spent on recharging my wolf.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, dude, there was a point where I was pretty defeated. It was actually right before Shep had put out all the votes. And then people were like, yeah, we got to vote the highest and all this burn. And I'm like, dude, I don't even want to play the game anymore. It's just frustrating. And that was also when I tried to steal a sheep and I got blocked by a farmer and it was 750 energy too. That was really brutal. All right, Crypdegen, we are here at our mystery question. All right. And it is, in your opinion, which is the most underrated character in Wolf Game, and how would you boost its popularity?
Well, I'll tell you this. I definitely wouldn't boost its popularity. I like it being the non-popular asset. But I will say I like farmers because farmers are your guarantee. Farmers are your protection. And basically, when things get really, really, really competitive, which I think they will, farmers, like who owns the farmers will run the game. Because whoever owns the farmers owns the guaranteed production, guaranteed safety, and once you start earning that reputation, you could start selling your farmers. It's just a very, very interesting mind game, and I don't know, I'm a big fan of the farmers. I really wish I had more.
That's a great answer. And even with the advent of the farmers market,
I mean, I love the farmers market. You know, if I need to make a couple thousand wool to pay off for my my recharging, I could just do that with a couple farmers. And
yeah,
everyone, what's great too is everyone sees how many farmers you have before they loot you. They'll click your profile and they'll go through your farmers. And once they have to scroll down like 3 swipes, 4 swipes, 5 swipes, you're not getting looted. I hope. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can try. Although that's what I did when I was trying to steal the G2 and I saw that the guy only had like 2 farmers.
Easy pickings.
But the thing is, I didn't know that he rented them.
Yeah.
So that's where he got me. And I was like, fuck, 750 energy.
Yeah.
750 energy and recharge time and just, my dignity, just crazy. I don't even know who that was. I've got to reach out to him now and just be like, you son of a bitch, give me some wool. Give me some of your wool.
Yeah.
But that's
100%.
That's there should be the ability to kind of shit talk a little bit in the game. or
I
like,
love that.
like a little chat box or something. Doesn't need to be crazy. It could be kind of like boxy and not a little bit of clunky, but that would be
Right.
kind of what makes it Wolf Game. So I had an absolute blast with you,
Absolutely.
Crypdegen. It was a pleasure, man. It was a pleasure meeting you. I think you brought a lot of value to Beyond the Den. I love your sheep angle. I love your thoughts on that. I love your thoughts on your intuition and your history of being in the space, for the past 3-4 years, and the amount of time that you've dedicated to the space. They say 3 years is like 10 years being in the space. So I think it's always good to meet different characters in the community, and I look forward to having you on again when some other new additions come into the space. And it was super exciting, dude.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing me on.
Yeah, man. Anything you want to part with for the show, for the listeners?
Nothing really. Definitely Val's Power Tools. Shout out to that. Definitely gonna go back and watch a couple of your last podcasts because I don't know. I'm curious to see what Pity was saying in term. And
Dude, yeah. Your headphones are gonna be on you 24/7 listening to these. It's gonna
I'm
be that
pumped.
exciting. I'm surprised you haven't heard them all, but I know you'll like them. So definitely tune into that from one breeding maxi to the other for sure. That wraps up our episode of Beyond the Den with Crypdegen, and real excited for our next show. We should be having Bry DeSanto on. Real excited to have him on. You guys are in for a treat.